Hello. Welcome to the Eden Woolley House, the home of the Township of Ocean Historical Museum, and welcome to Hometown Histories. Hometown Histories is the museum's oral and video history project in which we capture the memories of people who live in the area of Coastal Monmouth County, and we capture and share the stories worth remembering. I'm Peggy Dellinger. I'm the museum's exhibit director, and I'm also a trustee. And today, I'm standing in for Dallas Grove, the host of Hometown Histories. The topic of Hometown Histories today is the Ross Fenton Farms, a legendary nightclub on the shores of Deal Lake. It operated for the first half of the 20th century, opening at the end of the 19th century as a nightclub and closing in 1947, burning to the ground in 1950. We have special guests who are going to tell that story in a way that will bring it alive, I hope, for all of you. The first of our guests are Pat and Marty Martino. They live in a home that's situated on the 14 acres that was once Ross Fenton Farms, and they're going to be talking to someone who knew it firsthand, and that would be Mabel Fenton. Through the charm and the wonders of living history, one of our members, Heather MacDonald, has studied and embodied and now channels Mabel Fenton, and will sit here to answer the Martinos' questions about what it was like in those glorious heydays of Ross Fenton Farm. I wanted to call your attention to the fact that right now and through the first weekend in September, the museum, which is located in front of the library on Deal Road in Ocean Township, has a small exhibit on the Ross Fenton Farm, and it captures some of the charm and some of the glitz of those heydays of Ocean Township as the place to come and the place to be for society and the top names in entertainment. I want to just first of all situate the Ross Fenton Farms for you. If you're familiar with today's Wickapeka Drive, as you're going down Wickapeka Drive, heading south, and almost to the bridge that would bring you into Asbury Park, if you were to look to your left, to the east, you would see two roads, Wardell and Bryant, which were not there at the turn of the 20th century. And on the 14 acres that now encompass all the homes that were built on Bryant and Wardell was a working farm, but also this famous nightclub called Ross Fenton Farms. It was purchased at the end of the 19th century by Mabel Fenton and her husband Charlie Ross, who were the most famous, or among the most famous, vaudevillians of their day. And in that day, vaudeville was the premier live entertainment in the country. So let me just point out a few things to you so that you have a good sense of what the Martinos and Mabel will be talking to you about. Some of the most famous people of the day through the first half of the 20th century appeared at Ross Fenton. We had Danny Kaye being the master of ceremonies. We had Babe Ruth loving it there and coming frequently. We had Jackie Gleason. Eddie Duchin was the band leader for a number of years. Going back even further, we have Sophie Tucker and Lillian Russell, just anyone who was anyone in the New York entertainment scene would love to come and spend time at Ross Fenton Farm. Many of them got there by train coming down from the city. At the time, until 1912, there was a train station in Interlaken. So those coming from the cities in North Jersey and in New York City could stop at the train station. There were liveries or boats for hire dotting the shores of Deal Lake, and the passengers getting off the train would get on one of these little livery boats, and they would make their way west and stop at the dock, disembark, and either come and stay overnight or just spend the evening having a wonderful time dancing to the music. The locals who couldn't necessarily afford to go to enjoy the music inside Ross Fenton would take their canoes and sit and enjoy on the lake after dark as the music wafted across the lake, and they got their own taste of the highlight through their sitting in the canoes enjoying their time. So I don't want to waste any more time talking about what I know about Ross Fenton when we have such experts as our guests. I just invite all of you to please come in and enjoy the exhibit for yourself before it closes in early September. Pat and Marty Martino have arrived. They're here with us now, and I'd like to just ask them a few questions about what it's like to live at Ross Fenton Farms and the ghosts that must inhabit their property. Welcome to the Eden Woolley House. Tell me, are you natives of Wanamassa?
No, not at all.
Where are you from?
We're from a small town in Woodbridge Township called Port Redding. Marty and I were born and raised there, and this was a very big decision to move here.
Really?
Yes.
What motivated that decision? What drew you to us?
We both retired, and we thought it was time that we downsized.
Sure.
So we made a list of what we wanted, and we wanted a ranch. We wanted a view, whether it be a mountain view, a water view, a lake view, whatever. And we wanted a very good community for us, and we wanted privacy. So he was reading the newspaper one day, and
that's where that's kind of where it all started. We had saw in the newspaper there's property for sale down in Ocean Township in Wanamassa, which we had no idea where it was. In any event, we contacted the owner and made an appointment to come down and look at the property, and it kind of had everything that we were looking for. It was a newly remodeled house. It was
moving condition.
We didn't have to do very much, and we decided to buy it. This is the property for us. Now, why don't you tell about our tour with the...
Oh, the owner took us on a tour of the backyard, which was beautiful, but these pillars were there, and the dock was there with, it was like a boat landing. So she explained to us what it was. It was Ross Fenton Farm. Well, Marty and I had no idea what Ross Fenton Farm was. So she explained some of it to us.
This is the real estate agent now, not the owner.
No, the owner.
The owner.
Oh, the owner.
We did not go through real estate.
She sold it on her own. So she explained this to us, and we saw a dance floor there. We saw, the columns. It was very exciting to us.
Right. So that was an asset to you.
Yes.
The whole idea that there was this story around your property.
But we didn't realize the true significance of what it was, because it was just kind of in passing as you mentioned what it was.
I just have to mention something because you brought up the pillar, and the reason that we got to know the Martinos is because that pillar is now at least one of the pillars on your yacht is now part of our exhibit because, well, let me not tell the story. It's your story. Tell us how you came to bring that pillar to us.
Sure, I'll be happy to do that. Well, we bought the property in 2003 and moved down here. And being on the lake, at times some of the storms and hurricanes did damage the dock a little bit, if you will. After one of the storms, the dock shifted off the foundation, off the pillars. And I hired a contractor to come and restore it, put it back on the pillars. And we had to wait till the lake level was down very low so he could do that work. And when he was doing it, he called me and said, "Martin, look at what I found under the dock, the column." And I said, "Bring it out." So brought it out, we cleaned it up, and said to Patricia, I said, what should we do with this thing now that we have it? Because then it dawned on me, I said, I know the ideal location. I will call the museum and see if they are interested in having this original artifact from the original dock on the Ross-Fenton Boat Landing. And they said, we'd love to have it, and it is here today.
Right, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. It probably prompted the exhibit, that we've put in, because it's so much more fun and interesting when we have the real deal kind of artifacts from the site. So we have your pillar, and the exhibit has some menus and some liquor menus, wine menus, probably most interesting, because you could get a lobster dinner for $2.50.
Right.
Something like that, right? Yes. But that's really fun. That's wonderful. So you came, you bought, and you're now there and learning more about it every day, right? So
Absolutely.
you know that it was a happening place, right? And that people love to party and love to drink and love to gamble there. There was a gambling hall, we understand, even when gambling wasn't legal. So you carrying on the tradition?
Yes, we are.
Tell us about that.
We are trying to. We do like to have a good time also. When we first moved there, my son was getting engaged, so we had a huge party for him there with tents and everything, and I think everyone had a wonderful time.
We had like 100 people here for that.
Nice.
For that.
Yeah. And another time, our neighbor asked if his sister could use our location for her wedding.
Wonderful.
Which she had a beautiful wedding there under the gazebo, on the dock, it was beautiful. So we try to do that, and we've had many families.
Right. You have grandchildren?
Yes, my
and they love to
grandchildren.
play on the deck. Have you told them the story of what they're doing, where they're sitting?
Yes.
We do, but they don't remember it too well.
No,
So they're,
right.
at their age, they're interested in other things.
The Ross Fenton was a speakeasy during Prohibition, and even before Prohibition, they got in trouble with alcohol. A little known fact, at least little known to me, is that even before Prohibition was enacted in 1920, at the end of World War I, the federal government enacted a temporary prohibition because they wanted whatever it was that they were using to make the alcohol to be available to feed the troops and serve the troops. So they had a temporary prohibition, and Mabel herself was actually arrested.
Really?
Arrested, made the headlines of the Asbury Park Press in 1919.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Interesting.
it's an exciting place.
Yeah.
So, have I missed anything? Is there anything else you want to tell us about living there?
Well, it's just been a great opportunity to reminisce about the past and what had actually occurred there, and we're just happy and to be able to be there, to live there, and to share the experience with the museum.
Well, we're so grateful for you to do that. But that brings me to another question. Do you ever sit there on that wonderful, elegant dock, surrounded by those pillars, looking out at the water, watching the sunset, and wonder, what was it really like?
Oh yes, it's
What
really.
were those people doing? Who were they?
It really is beautiful. We like to sit out there at night, and we have our coffee or drink
Or whatever.
And it's very quiet at times. And at other times we hear music coming from across
Just
the
like,
lake.
oh, isn't that
Yes,
nice? Just like the
yes,
natives, the Wanamassa
yes,
kids sitting in
yes,
their canoes.
yes.
Well, we have the luxury of having another guest, and I'm going to invite her to come in, take my place, because this is Mabel Fenton.
Oh,
Really?
Herself.
I have a lot of questions for her.
It's actually Heather MacDonald, who does our living history, and she has studied the details of Mabel's life, the details of Ross Fenton's history, and she would love for you to ask all the questions that you've imagined sitting there on that dock, sipping your wine
Wonderful.
as the sun goes down. Shall we invite her in?
Wonderful.
Okay,
absolutely.
Well, I am so glad to be here with the people who are now taking care of my property. Even though it isn't quite my property anymore. Now, I understand you have some questions for me.
Oh, Mabel, we're so happy to meet you.
Oh, pleasure.
Mabel, the pleasure is all ours to.
Oh,
Yes.
my pleasure, too. And you know what? I'll sign your autographs later on.
Okay. we made some notes so that we can be prepared to answer.
I heard you had questions
Yes,
for me.
yes.
Well, let me have them.
All right.
Well, since Ross Fenton is named after you and Charlie, how did you become owners of this property, and how do you operate it?
Well, it was originally Hewlett Farm, and Charlie heard that there was some boxing going on at Hewlett Farm, and Charlie loved boxing. He even partook of boxing himself. As a matter of fact, when we first met, he had a little remnant of a shiner on his eye, but he looked adorable with it. So he went down to Hewlett Farm to watch the boxing, and he brought me with him, and we liked the place. We sat and we ate, and I said, "Oh, Charlie, I have an idea." And he said, "Mabel, what's your idea?" I said, "Let's buy this place. Let's turn this into the swankiest restaurant on the Jersey Shore." And that's exactly what we did. And even though we were acting on Broadway, we were back and forth between the Jersey Shore and New York City so often, we had a manager take care of things for us.
So Mabel, how did you and Charlie meet?
Oh, this is a story. Do we have enough time for this? We met in 1887 in Deadwood, South Dakota, of all places. So we met at a saloon hall. You see, he was traveling with P.T. Barnum. I don't know if you've ever heard that man, a circus man.
Yes.
So
Oh,
Charlie
wow.
was a jockey. He was riding horses, and he went to this saloon hall, and as he tells the story, he says, up drew the curtains, and out leaped the prettiest girl that he had ever seen. And so we met afterwards, and I told him my sad story about how I came to Deadwood, South Dakota from Chicago, and I told him that they had promised me that there was a brand new theater opening in South Dakota, and that I would be the headliner. I would be the one who was the lead role in all their shows. And by the time I got there, I was a dance hall girl. I was a saloon girl. Of course, I'm sobbing, I'm crying. I told him, my manager has all my money. My manager has my trunk and all my things, and he will not give it back. So I'm stuck here. Well, a couple of days later, he and I were married.
Wow.
You're a fiesta operator.
So was he. Oh, he was one of the handsomest men that ever graced the stage. How can you say no to that man? As a matter of fact, when we got married at 4 a.m. in the morning. The Justice of the Peace, who was also the mayor, he went up to the mayor, and Charlie said, I want to buy a gun. Can I get a gun? And the mayor said, Charlie, you could have a cannon if you wanted. So Charlie bought the gun, and he went up to my manager, who was leaning against the bar top of the saloon, and this big, burly Irishman who was standing right behind the saloon looking all angry. And so he went up to the manager, and Charlie said, you're going to release Mabel from her contract, and you're going to give her things back. And the manager said, nah, she's working here for me now. So Charlie took him by the arm, and turned around and pushed him up against the bar counter. Now the big burly Irishman, he's starting to look more angrier, and Charlie took out his gun, and the Irishman ducked behind the counter. And so he looked at my manager, and he said, you're going to release Mabel from her contract, aren't you? And he said, yes. And he said, you're going to give her her money back, aren't you? Yes. And you're going to give her her trunk back, right? Yank. Yes! And so that is how I was released from my contract, and after that we went to New York.
How did you decide to go to New York from Dogwood? Dogwood?
It was Deadwood.
Deadwood.
Yes, it was a
South
mean
Dakota.
town. Any
I
kind
mean, New
of
York's
cowboy stories you hear.
a long way from Deadwood. I mean, what? I know there were attractions in New York, but did you have an offer for a
Well,
job?
New York
or
City
what
was
did
the
you-
scene for performing, especially on Broadway and vaudeville. So we had a gig with two famous comedians known as Weber and Fields. They were up-and-coming comedians, and they had earned quite a bit of money from their acts. So they purchased a theater, and they decided to put together a fine acting troupe, the creme de la creme of the vaudeville scene. And so we were in their burlesques. I know some people think that word, it means something else nowadays, but burlesque meant a variety show. So a series of one acts, that's what vaudeville was. You could have someone reciting Shakespeare one moment in one act, and the next act, you have dogs jumping through hoops. Now imagine if you had to follow that act.
Wow. Wow. So how long were both of you on Broadway or in New York performing?
We were in New York for a long time. Charlie kept performing all the way, even after 1913, 1914. I took a bit of a break in 1908. Unfortunately, it came down with pneumonia. It took a little while to recover. But even after that, I was still writing scripts with Charlie. We were even writing music together, too.
Now, when did you buy the property down here in Ocean?
Well, I know we opened up Ross Fenton Farm in 1899.
1899.
Mm-hmm.
And Mabel, what did our home look like then?
Oh, it was a fairyland. Even at night, with all the lanterns glittering off the waters of Deal Lake, once you arrive to that beautiful dock, which I believe you still have, and you're keeping it up. Thank you for doing that.
And we do.
And it was like a dream. There was the main house, the farmhouse, the old farmhouse that we turned into a restaurant. And there was a casino. There were bungalows. There was even our house, Charlie and I's house there. And also there were greenhouses because I love flowers. As a matter of fact, I love it so much that I told Charlie, I'm going to open up a florist. He said, what?
What next?
And I said, I'm going to open up a florist. And I did in New York City. And it worked so well that I opened up another one.
Wow.
Wow. Now, on our property, there's the dock, and then there's a dance pavilion, and another building which looks like a restaurant or part of the casino. I'm not sure what it is. Can you share with us about the dance pavilion and the building that's the
That's
restaurant?
exactly what it was. And all glittering celebrities. Oh, I remember when Helen Morgan came to visit us. I remember how she was cutting a rug on that dance floor. She had to perform for us one night. The thing was, she was performing on Broadway. And we had to get her at Ross Fenton Farm by midnight. So what we did was we hired a seaplane.
Did you really?
Yes, we did. We hired a seaplane, and we put her in the plane in New York City, one of the docks, and then she flew right to Deal Lake. But the problem was it was dark on Deal Lake. So we had an idea. You see, the locals used to take their canoes out, and they would sit in their canoes and just drift and listen to the music as they're there on Deal Lake. And we asked them, sometimes they bring lanterns with them. And we asked them, could you bring some lanterns with you tonight? We need a little help.
Good idea.
And so it was a fabulous idea because they lined the docks. They lined the whole shoreline of Deal Lake so that they could see the seaplane come in. And the seaplane could see this watery runway as it landed. And it made a perfect landing right up to the dock.
Now, did the locals patronize Ross Fenton Farm?
Yes, they did. Yeah, they did, especially our dry neighbors in Asbury Park, which is right across we're on the boundary on Deal Lake. We're right on the boundary of Asbury Park and the Township of Ocean. So you see, there was a law that the New Jersey legislature had passed, and they said that if you live within a certain amount of feet or a certain amount of miles of a religious organization, or a religious camp meeting organization, then you cannot serve nor sell alcohol. And of course, what town is Asbury Park next to?
Ocean Grove.
Ocean Grove. So very dry neighbors who were very thankful to cross Deal Lake to Ross Fenton Farm, where the alcohol flowed as freely as it could.
Wow. We after we moved, one of our neighbors gave us a postcard picture of Deal Lake and a canoe, not a canoe, a gondola arriving at the dock, the boat dock, to go enjoy the pleasures of your nightclub.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to imagine a gondola, if you will, on Deal Lake bringing somebody across the lake. And it's just amazing, astounding that those kind of things occurred.
Well, it's even amazing to imagine that there was a little steamship on there too, which
Really?
my husband and I named the SS Fenton after me.
Of course.
So after you bought the property, you made it into a nightclub, a full-blown nightclub, restaurant, speakeasy, gambling, dancing, the whole.
Not so loud.
That's correct. Right?
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
All right, now I have a question for you. As I understand it now, Prohibition started in 1920 and it ended in 1933. And in reviewing some of your background history, Charlie died in 1919.
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, but that meant that you were the manager, owner, proprietor of this facility.
I was the boss.
You were the boss at this nightclub at a time when Prohibition was in place, and at a time when there were bootleggers and outlaws and,
Oh yeah.
and all kind of characters, if you will. Right? How did you deal with that? Especially, I guess what intrigues me, as a woman, in today's world, women have their challenges, but back then, you really got to have your hands full. What did you carry? Guns and pistols on you as well?
You know, I don't kiss and tell, but that's why we have a back door. That's why, oh, excuse me, I should say service entrance.
Okay. But it had to be really challenging managing and operating this.
It was, and there were times where, yes, Ross Fenton Farm was raided.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And sometimes the guests would duck under the table. Sometimes it took them a while to come back from under the table. But then again, we had a philosophy at Ross Fenton Farm. Whatever happens at Ross Fenton Farm stays at Ross Fenton Farm.
Okay, so I understanding that there was a news report that you were arrested prior
Oh,
to
do we have to bring that up?
Could you comment about that?
Well, the government said that I had too much liquor at Ross Fenton Farm. Too much liquor. Tried telling that to my dry friends over in Asbury Park. Now, I have celebrities like Harry Houdini, like Helen Morgan, like Diamond Jim Brady, who are visiting Ross Fenton Farm, and they're expecting the best of the best. And during the war, they had that rule. It said that you couldn't possess too many grains or substances that comprises of alcohol because we were sending it over to our doughboys over there. We'll probably send the alcohol over there. It's probably what made them move so fast in some areas. But, and they said, I had too much alcohol. And I said, too much alcohol, my dear Aunt Sally. And so I got arrested. But that's okay because I didn't spend time in the jail cell. I just sat nicely next to the police commissioner, the police chief. We had a grand old talk.
Good for you.
I believe you did. I believe you did. How readily available was alcohol during Prohibition days here at your...
We had our ways. We did have people who came in from Canada. We do have people who were making alcohol down by the Blue Ridge Mountains in Virginia. So there were areas where people during the Prohibition were making their own substances, making their own good humor and good spirits. So if it was good enough and didn't kill my guests, then I bought it.
There you go. Now, in 1926, you moved from this area to California. What did it occur to want to make you that move?
Well, I was looking to retire a bit. Wasn't into acting too much at that point. However, I heard that out in Hollywood, the motion picture industry was growing. And when silent films, the motion pictures first came out, people who acted in those films were considered lower than actors and stage actors, and were paid even less. Stage actors were considered nothing. They were considered people of ill repute. So it wasn't until Weber and Fields and others that took the acting profession and kicked it up a notch and made it something professional, especially when we were being paid more money. So decided to go out to California, and I became a bit of a consultant to moving pictures because Charlie and I were in a few moving pictures ourselves. And since we were on stage, and of course with the silent films, you have to have big gestures and pounds of makeup on your face to even see your face. So I gave them a little bit of advice about how to perform in front of the camera. Wow.
Now, when you were out in California, did you still maintain any control and management?
I did. I did. I would travel back and forth between California and Wanamassa, and I would visit Ross Fenton Farm on occasion.
One other question. Did you have any children?
No, I did not.
How about families? How did you pass the Ross Fenton Farm on?
Any brothers or sisters? Or
I had plenty of brothers and sisters. Yeah, I'm a Lawrence, Michigan girl, so I had plenty of brothers and sisters. So I remember that as soon as Charlie and I made it big, we had enough money to purchase Ross Fenton Farm, and I had enough money to send back to my mom and dad in Lawrence, Michigan to pay off for the farm. Not only that, but I invited my grandmother and my dear old blind grandfather to come stay with us at Ross Fenton Farm. And on occasion, my brothers, they would come and stay at Ross Fenton Farm as well.
Wow, that was very nice of you to do that.
No, it was my pleasure. I mean,
Did they help you out at all?
Sometimes they did, but because we had employees on the farm, it wasn't like a laborious farm. It was a beautiful farm. It was like an Eden, like a paradise. And yes, it was fun.
And it still is.
Yes, I've heard.
It's amazing to me that you actually had a gambling casino here, operationally gambling casino here,
Yes, I did.
which nobody really would talk about, but
No. I guess it's okay to talk about it now.
there you go. I just would like to assure you that the excitement and thrills that you experienced as the owner of that property, you and Charlie back then, continues now, at least from our viewpoint, for Patricia and myself, because we really enjoy the property where we live. We enjoy the dock. We enjoy the authenticity, if you will, of the dock and the dance floor, which are still there. And we try to do our best to maintain the dock and as best we can. And after one of the storms, we had to. There was a fair amount of damage on the floor of the dock, and we decided that rather than replace what we do is just put wood planking over the original dock, which is still there, the diamond pattern of the dock. So it's still authentic, and it is still there. We didn't destroy. We try to keep it as best we can to its original day.
Oh, I am so glad to hear that. I'm so glad to hear that you're taking care of it.
And we thank you for everything,
We
too.
thank you for everything, for doing what you
Oh, my pleasure.
What fun to hear personal reminiscence, right? From
Yes.
Mabel herself. I want to thank Heather MacDonald as Mabel Fenton and Pat and Marty Martino as themselves, and hear this wonderful story of this property through the ages. I want to remind you to come into the museum, which is situated in front of the library on Deal Road in Ocean Township, and see for yourself the artifacts and the stories. And Mabel, you mentioned that you were in a movie, and we actually have footage from the movie that shows Mabel and Charlie themselves on the property. So you can see it as it looked in 1915. So that's a remarkable piece of footage to come in and see. You can see the banister, the column from the dock itself, the menus we talked about, all of the things. It's definitely worth a trip in. If you want to check out the hours for the museum, go to our website at oceanmuseum.org. And thank you all very much.
Hey, Pat, Patricia, and I would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to share with you the experiences that we have as being part of the Ross Fenton Farm, and compliment the Ocean Museum, you and your staff, on what you are doing, and for you to continue. Our best wishes for you to continue to keep it up. But above all, having the opportunity to meet Mabel Fenton. It was really
That's really magic.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you.